Hey guys, what is going on? Welcome back to my Robinhood portfolio. What I thought I'd talk about today is how the new White House administration is going to be affecting the financial markets. As you guys know, there's been a lot of fiery rhetoric coming out of the White House, a lot of controversial executive orders, including an executive order to repeal the Dodd-Frank Act, which I think could have some pretty big implications on the stock market. So the Dodd-Frank Act was an act enacted in 2010. The full name of it is the Dodd-Frank Wall Street Reform and Consumer Protection Act. And the idea behind this act was to help protect consumers from bad investment advice. It's a very large piece of legislation, very complicated, but the essential underpinnings were to require brokers, stockbrokers, to act in a client's best interest rather than seeking the highest profit for themselves when providing advice regarding retirement accounts and buying and selling of stocks. And the other big part of that was to prevent this thing known as too big to fail, otherwise known as protecting large corporations from failure. So the idea behind that was that certain corporations, in particular large financial institutions, are so large and so interconnected that failure would essentially be disastrous for the overall economic system. Not only the stock market, but just the markets in general. They could essentially face a potential failure from one or more businesses that, like I said, are very intrinsic or intertwined immensely within the overall economic system. So the Act basically has a lot of financial regulations, and in repealing this, there would be this idea that financial institutions would have the ability to make a lot more money. And we kind of saw that in the stock market this last week here. So with that legislation coming out, actually it's not legislation, it's just an executive order. With that order coming out, you can see my three financial stocks really skyrocketed. BOFI here, 1.75 up. Huntington Bank Shares, 2.79% up. And Wells Fargo and Company, 2.73% up. So very, very good response in the market. And the larger financial institutions, if we kind of search for those, had even better performance. So BAC, Bank of America, you can see up 2.51%. And you can see over the last 1 week and 1 month, you can see it kind of sharply trending up here. And even better performance has been in C here, Citibank. You can see 3.18%, and probably the largest gainer, a stock that I was actually going to purchase a few months back, Morgan Stanley. You can see up 5.46%. So you can see that sharp uptick here after some of that executive order rhetoric was essentially published in the news here. So I think there's actually a very good opportunity to buy some financial stocks and make a pretty big return. I think I'm going to be jumping into Morgan Stanley here over the next week or so. I know it's trended up quite a bit here. Like I said, I was going to buy it back in this area here, and over the last 3 months you can see it's up 33%. So that's been a very, very good play. It's actually going to buy it right in this area here. Wish I would have now, but since the executive order has come out, a very, very nice uptick. That would be right here, but it's had a very nice uptick since November or so. But I think that's going to continue with the executive order. Again, repealing the Dodd-Frank Act, which essentially involves a lot of regulation within the financial industry. So a couple of very good plays here. I think they're going to be good short-term plays, probably good plays throughout 2017. Like I said, I'm probably going to jump into Morgan Stanley. I'm probably going to put a little bit more money into Wells Fargo as well. I like that stock, even though it had a pretty big controversy in itself over the last few months. So financial stocks, I think, are going to benefit from this executive order. It's kind of too early to see exactly if that's going to be really taken to Congress, if that legislation is going to be reversed. But for now, there is an executive order in place repealing that legislation. So yeah, just kind of wanted to talk about the financial industry. I think it's going to be a very good market sector to jump into. Like I said, I'm probably going to be putting a little bit more money into financials as opposed to pharmaceutical stocks, which I had been putting a lot of money into, both pharmaceutical companies and service companies within the pharma category. So I'm probably going to be putting, like I said, more money into Wells Fargo. I'm going to be putting money into Morgan Stanley, and probably Citigroup. I like all three of those stocks. And then I may put a little bit more money into HBA in here. This is a very good stock for new investors who don't have a lot of capital. It's pretty cheap, and it's got a good dividend yield there at 2.351%. It's a dividend aristocrat. It's been very, very stable stock. And you can see here the quarterly estimates have been beating the expected earnings per share over the last 5 quarters or so. So yeah, just wanted to talk about financial stocks. Let me know what you guys are doing, whether you're going to be also putting some money into the financial industry, or you're going to kind of wait and see what happens with the Dodd-Frank repeal legislation, or I keep saying legislation, but it's really not legislation at this point. It's simply an executive order. So we'll see if that is repealed or not. So yeah, kind of with that, I'll end the video here. As always, if you enjoy my videos, feel free to like, share, and subscribe. And until next video, we'll see you then.